Today we're in the 78th day of the Nebraska Legislature's 90-day session. It's going to be an interesting day of taking up prison reform and criminal justice. They'll be working late into the night. I won't be there for all of that. I plan to make an appearance. This time of year, the legislature works evenings. They can work as late as midnight. They've been quitting around 7 or 8. Luckily, the bills we've been working on have appeared earlier on the agenda, so we don't have to, I don't have to stick around that late. They're working very hard. Tracking some of the bills we're working on, LB 104, I'm going to hit the ones that we spent the time on this past month since I last seen you. Just kind of give you a quick briefing on it. 104 is a bill that we introduced on behalf of OPPD, but the industry is very supportive. In fact, other industries that have disconnect notices are supportive as well. It's a bill that allows electronic notification if a customer is going to be disconnected. It was amended to say that you have to sign up for it. You have to acknowledge that you're receiving your disconnect notice by electronic, which I think actually improves the bill. That got placed on a consent calendar, meaning that it non-controversial, moves relatively quickly. Have 15 minutes to get the bill explained and out the door, and it's actually been through twice the process, not twice, and is on final reading, waiting the final reading of the legislature, and then it goes on to the governor. So we're in a good position with that. WB 141 is a bill that we actually spent most of the time on this year as far as proactive, what we're trying to accomplish in the legislature. WB 141 creates a special purpose entity in the Mandated Capital Projects Act. It creates what's called a property right for that securitized revenue stream. Has to do with funding mandated projects by the federal, state regulatory bodies. On select file, Edward and Steve and John, we were loaded for bear because the first round, it took 5.5 hours of debate to move it on to the second round. On the second round of debate, we were all standing in the rotunda waiting our turn, and it moved on a voice vote, and moved from select to final reading without any debate. It actually moved off of final reading last week. It's on final reading, or it's off final reading. It's been passed by the legislature. It's awaiting the governor's signature. So,
49-0.
49-0. First time for me that's happened in 23 years. So, that's a good thing. Thank you. I want to touch on LB 423. It's a bill that the industry is actually neutral on, but it's a bill that dealt with tax incentives for renewable energy. The bill passed first round approval. I think they had 26 or 27 votes. Came to select file, and select file was filibustered by some of the fiscal hawks in the legislature. Basically, the argument was the subsidy, the state doesn't need to be involved in that. There was probably 2.5 days that the bill was debated. Lots of discussion regarding public power and renewable energy. And basically, the industry was neutral on the bill, but there was for 2.5 days, a lot of discussion about energy. The bill was filibustered. It failed to advance. When it fails to advance, the speaker takes it off the agenda. A senator has asked for how to reconsider. I don't know at this stage of the game in the legislative process whether it will be reconsidered, but it's been asked to be reconsidered for possible passage at this point. He has 5 days the speaker has 5 days to make that decision. I don't know if it's legislative days or 5 calendar days, but we're at a very busy time of year right now, and we'll see if it comes back for discussion. Move ahead to 469 and 583. These are two bills that were amended together. 469 started off that the legislature was going to have to approve the state implementation plan for the EPA's Clean Air Act. We asked Senator Smith not to do it that way. We didn't want to turn the approval of a regulatory process into a legislative political process. It's been amended at this point to have a dialogue between legislators about the pros and cons of the Clean Air Act. And there's some positives from a renewable standpoint about the benefits of renewables. And then there's some discussion in there too about the effects of coal and the loss of jobs. So it's a study that has been shifted from the Department of Environmental Quality to the State's Energy Office. And in combination with that, 583 is a state energy plan that includes natural gas, coal, wind, an overall comprehensive plan to look at a state energy plan. I think it was last done in, what did you tell me?
1995 or 6 or something like that.
It hasn't been updated for almost 20 years, so time for that to occur. So those two advanced to off a final reading. They're awaiting the governor's signature as well. We'll be winding down. I'll start my transition back to Omaha in the next 10 days or so, and other duties is assigned at that point.
And if that does go to the state energy office for OPPDs and others, so that's from there,
Yeah, as we've talked with David Brock about it, I mean, Tom and I had lunch with him, and we kind of crafted this concept idea because I think the whole energy portfolio of the state has changed, whether it be ethanol, because back in the early 1990s, ethanol really was not even around. It started later. Late 90s is when you really begin to see ethanol production. And so a number of different things going on. We're seeing a significant amount of oil drilling going on in the state, whether it's in the southwest or the southeast. So the whole energy picture, including wind and other resources, are changing. And so our recommendation is you really want to do a comprehensive energy study for the state and look at those kinds of pieces. And David agreed with that. He thinks it's the right time. It's how do you get the resources, what do you do, and how do you do it. I think they've come to that resolution about how to get that done. So it's probably the right time to do that for the state, to understand that.
The industry will be involved, the electric industry and all the industries will be really involved because they have to gather data. And they've appropriated $600,000 for the study. It would be a lot more than that, except for the utilities are actually going to do a lot of the gathering of the data and the information. And the consultants will accumulate that information for the report form. We're winding down, like I said, and I'll be back in June for the final report.
Another question, in 423, what was the appropriation money that we required for that?
Originally started out, it started out, the bill was originally drafted like $75 million. And it was amended, it got down into the $20 million range. So, it did go down, but it was still significant.
I think one of the things that we've heard is that obviously there's a property tax bill that has some property tax reduction, and that fiscal is about $19 million too. So just to give you a sense on, there's a lot of fighting going on about giving any money back on how you go about doing that, whether it's income tax or property tax. And so those dollars are all being paid pretty heavily, I think, across the legislature these days. So.
That's my report. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.